The potential return of a key starter could completely shift Clemson's postseason path. We'll talk about it right here on Locked On Clemson.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Tiger fans? Morgan Thomas here, Clemson fan, Clemson grad, host and producer of this show, and part-time host and producer over on 105.5 FM The Roar. Thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And if you're new to the show, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. You know how we do it here on Locked On. Exclusive Clemson content Monday through Friday every single week. And don't forget to follow me in between episodes over on X at The Morgan T Show, where I talk all things Clemson, and you can discuss it with me as well every single day. Coming up on today's show, we're going to talk about the potential return of a key starter, maybe even two key starters who could completely shift Clemson's postseason path for baseball and the regional championship or tournament here. And Coach Bakich talking about how he wants to focus just on USC Upstate. And then Cade Klubnik being the face of college football yet again, maybe getting on the cover of 2026. We'll talk about that as well. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. I really appreciate it. We got a lot to get into, a ton of college baseball discussion because, you know, we're starting here getting ready for the regional tournament. And Ethan Darden is possibly going to bring a big boost to the Clemson season this weekend. Just when Clemson fans were starting to wonder about their pitching depth and heading into the regional and what they were going to do, a familiar name is now back in the mix. Lefty Ethan Darden, who started this year as Clemson's Saturday guy, is trending towards a return for the NCAA regional this weekend, and it could be a big deal and change a lot of things about how Clemson approaches the weekend. Now, I know what you're thinking, that Clemson this past weekend, they had a good ACC tournament. However, it didn't end the way you'd want it to end. And a lot of those problems in the bullpen, in the rotation, in the ability to continue to extend your players and use all of the guys, all of your arms, that's where there was a lot of concerns that were kind of starting to come to fruition here. And a lot of fans were getting worried about how far Clemson can go into a tournament type atmosphere, where you have to play 3 and 4 games, then you start running out of arms where you can rotate in. Clemson didn't have everybody in the ACC championship or in the ACC tournament, and so they kind of fell short, and it was a bitter end to what really overall was a decent ACC tournament. Clemson went 3-1 in the tournament, beating Virginia Tech, NC State in a comeback win, and then Georgia Tech before, you know, losing to the Tar Heels 14-4, which really makes you frustrated. But despite the loss, you know, the tournament to me was a success. They had great performances from Jacob Jarrell, Cam Canarella, and others. You know, Clemson earned a national seed, I think, and they had a pretty favorable draw because of their strong showing. And this bracket with USC Upstate, West Virginia, and Kentucky is a very winnable bracket. You know, and it really kind of comes down to how are they going to be the most effective in this tournament, starting this Friday. You know, Ethan Darden coming back could really help that and help their effectiveness from their arms because, you know, he hasn't pitched since mid-April. And that's when he exited the game against Stanford early after giving up a bunch of runs. And he didn't look very comfortable on the mound. Now, but I got to be honest with you, against that Stanford game, he was throwing some big ones over the middle of the plate, and it didn't seem like the velocity was there. I understand that. But he still had plenty of opportunities to have a better outing than he did. And the defense didn't give him any favors as well. They had a couple of errors in the first 2 innings, and so he was ran out early. And that's what you don't want to see from Clemson because they don't have enough powerful arms or superstar level arms, elite level arms, if you will, to be able to get run out, you know, in 2 innings. You need your starters. You need your guys out there that can do 4 or 5 innings. And Darden, before kind of the end of the season or the May, end of March, early April, area time frame, you know, he had a pretty good season getting started, and then he kind of trickled off a little bit, you know. So since he has been rehabbing and trying to get back, the clubhouse has really seemed to be very cautious with him. Erik Bakich mentioned that his triceps issue held him out of the ACC tournament, and they could have maybe pitched him, but they wanted to be safe. He's been throwing on the mound, and they said when he asked him yesterday, is he available for this weekend, he said he would be probable for the regional. And that to me is good news for Clemson, because they need length and depth and stability from their pitching rotation. Whether he's going to start or whether he's going to be, a reliever, I don't know. But to have an extra guy in there that you can trust, along with what we're hearing, Reed Garris coming back, that could possibly be really good for them, as the regional gets started this weekend. If Ethan Darden is healthy enough to take the mound, it might be it might be the most important development for Clemson in their regional hopes, because it's really about a kind of pitcher who, if he's healthy, can set the tone, can command the strike zone, can compete deep into games. If you look where he was doing his best, like he was pitching 6 and 7 innings, and that is really good. That's more than just filling up a role or filling up an inning or two. That is somebody you can lean on and build around. Clemson doesn't need perfection from anybody. They need guys out there that they can trust to go, more than just 1 or 2 innings to me. Darden added back into the rotation, adds some depth, and kind of reshuffles how this strategy will work this weekend in more of a Clemson favor, for sure. We've already seen Darden's potential this year. When he was locked in, he was mowing through lineups. He was masterful against South Carolina, pitching 7 innings and left all of their hitters guessing, especially LeCroy. Don't forget that. You were guessing. And he's a guy that we can trust as long as he's healthy and he's on his game. And his struggles weren't necessarily random. They got worse as the season went on. And I think that might go back from, it's not just a random blow up here and there. The regression seems to kind of align with the fact that he was having some arm issues. And Erik Bakich said it was, a triceps thing, and it impacted his command and impacted his velocity. And that one mid-April really wasn't necessarily a bad game. It just didn't seem like he had all of his stuff. And if he had some better defense around him, wouldn't have been as bad as what it seems on the stat sheet. But with him being out there, Clemson can maybe rotate him in. I feel like a lot of people are leaning towards Drew Titsworth on Friday and then Aiden Kanak on Saturday. I think that's where you're going to see the most success from those two guys. But if Dardens may be able to get in on Friday, who knows what could happen. Bakich now has potential to rotate some guys around and readjust his initial strategy, depending, again, on how strong he is and how much trust he has in his rehab and his ability to go in there and get some quality innings. There's no guarantee, because we don't know if he's at full strength or not. He's had 6 weeks off and only a few bullpen sessions here. Doesn't really give you a lot of faith and confidence in him. But Erik Bakich has seen him, and we're just kind of speculating on how much he'll be able to compete and bring to the team. He could have rushed him back for the ACC tournament. He mentioned that he was technically could have been available, but he held him back, giving him another week. Another week could go a mile for making a difference this weekend. If Darden can give you 4 innings, 5 innings in any kind of capacity, and they're quality innings, that could be huge for getting Clemson towards winning this regional tournament and getting into the super regional. Every postseason is all you see it sticks its ugly head out. It's postseason pitching depth. The contenders and the pretenders are separated by the arms out there. If Clemson enters the weekend the way they did in the ACC tournament, I can understand why you'd be a little bit concerned. We all will be, because they don't have enough to go the distance if you have to go 4 games into a tournament. You have to play on being able to win and stay out of the loser's bracket. That is for sure. With high-powered offenses out there like West Virginia and Kentucky that can really compete, in the confidence that you have with USC Upstate makes you worry a little bit. But Ethan Darden, while he may not be the headliner or the starter going into this weekend, having him can put an additional piece into the strategy and help Clemson survive and advance. It doesn't have to be pretty, but this could be a big development for Clemson's ability to move on in the regional. All right, we're going to continue discussion about Clemson baseball with how Erik Bakich is being locked in on one game at a time, and that one game being USC Upstate. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Now, you know, I've talked to you a ton about how it's helped me understand and give me insights on where I'm spending the most money. But I'm telling you this, one thing that I really love is that I can combine and track and share personal accounts and set goals together with my wife, and we can stay on the same page. And I'm telling you, staying on the same page financially relieves a lot of stress in your marriage or in your partnership, relationship, whatever it may be. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Fans are already debating whether Clemson has a chance against Kentucky and West Virginia. Hearing a lot of people talk about West Virginia and their pitching staff, but Erik Bakich says that he is focused straight ahead and only on USC Upstate. And based on what he said to us Monday, that's to me a very good move, because Clemson's Friday night opponent isn't just a tune-up. Now, I know that you could say, Morg, they've already played USC Upstate and they beat them 7-0, but I'm telling you right now that they are a true threat, and that is for sure. Clemson opens up the NCAA regional play against USC Upstate Friday at Doug Kingsmore. The Spartans just won the Big South title and are riding a ton of momentum and confidence into this tournament. Erik Bakich emphasized that Clemson's entire focus needs to be and will be on game one. No bracket talk, no peeking ahead, just beating USC Upstate. And I agree with him. And I got to be honest with you, I haven't really been on the same page with him for sure. In the same way, because, you know, I've talked about LSU, but how will they pitch and who will they pitch on Friday against USC Upstate? Will they use Aiden Knack, their ace, or will they go with someone else like Drew Titsworth and save Aiden Knack for Saturday against a Kentucky or West Virginia? I think that it's really important to put your best guy out there. You cannot risk going 0-1 and being forced to play in elimination games with a bullpen and roster that you're kind of concerned with. USC Upstate is hot. They just won the Big South. They have the freshman ace, Amp Phillips, Big South newcomer of the year. He throws in the mid-90s. He's coming off a complete game shutout. If you're serious about going to Omaha, you've got to be serious about game one. USC Upstate is exactly the kind of team that can pull off a shocker. They're loose. They're hot. They've already proven that they can win elimination games. And Clemson has to bring intensity from the very first pitch, or they're going to be playing from behind the rest of the weekend, and you do not want that. USC Upstate has an offense that has been rolling right now. They've scored double digits in 3 of their last six games. They've shown a very aggressive approach at the plate, hunting early fastballs and making teams pay for their location mistakes. Even though they've met earlier this season on March 4th, Clemson won that game. The score doesn't tell the whole story. USC Upstate had a lot of chances. They put runners in scoring position. They weren't really looking like they were overmatched. And I got to tell you, this team is going to want to get out and jump on them early and get into the bullpen early, because they know, hey, if they can run out you in 1 or 2 innings, your starter in 1 or 2 innings, and that's going to play very well in their favor. Nobody expects USC Upstate to win or the 4th seed to win, but that's why they could be so dangerous. They've got confidence. They've got a chip on their shoulder. They've got nothing else to lose. And Clemson definitely has a home field advantage as well. That's going to make it difficult for them. They're undefeated at home on Fridays. They're 26-7 at home. They're undefeated when Aiden Knack pitches, if that's who pitches. Doug Kingsmore has a huge home field advantage for Clemson, and that's why it's so great that they're hosting this regional. But if you got a team that's confident, that's dangerous, that's aggressive, it could be a bad combination for a top seed looking forward to the next game. And that's why Erik Bakich is so focused on just the first game, and they can scout the next teams after that. Yes, Clemson has more depth. Yes, they have more talent. They have more power nearly at every position, but that doesn't always win when you get in these tournament-style ball games. What wins these type of games? That's where you look at execution. Clemson has to throw strikes. They have to avoid defensive miscues, like what we saw against Stanford. When we saw Ethan Darden's last game, they can't just leave big fastballs over the middle of the plate. They can't just have dumb errors from their infield and their outfield. USC Upstate's going to play with a sense of urgency from the very beginning of the game. And if they do that, then they could move on, and Clemson could be unfocused and sluggish. They could find themselves in an elimination game on the very next night and on Saturday real fast. Every year this stuff happens. The top seed, first game, they underestimate their opponent, a red-hot mid-major, and then it happens, And Erik Bakich understands this, and that's why you have to set the tone from the beginning of the week. That's why he's come out now on a Monday, and he was saying that this team's not going to take it easy, not going to relax. Now, Bailey is a guy who could go out and he's already he was the first guy to pitch in that 7-0 win. I could see him coming out on a Friday as well and going against and just having the same pitcher that you went and faced him last time. He seemed to be locked in. He seemed to be focused. The whole team has to rally around whoever they put out there. And the defense and the pitching staff and the coaching staff have to be focused on their strategy. The message to me is clear, even though, I'm a guy who I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to Kentucky. I'm looking forward to West Virginia. And I'm even kind of secretively looking forward to LSU, or some people are saying Dallas Baptist. But, I want to see this team get to the Super Regional. But the only way to do that, and the best way to do that, is to absolutely avoid the losers bracket. Now, I know it from experience in Little League, Youth League, you do not want to be in the losers bracket, because that's where you don't get to eat dinner. You don't get to eat lunch because you're playing multiple games back to back. I know it's not necessarily the case in college, but it's not fun to be in the losers bracket and have to win your way back into it and play from elimination, especially, as we mentioned earlier, they don't have the arms to go like in the ACC tournament. They don't necessarily have the arms that can take them into 4 games. And so you want to avoid that. Yes, Clemson can do it. This is a very winnable group, and it's going to be a very competitive group. And it's going to be a very tough super regional, whoever they get, if they get to that level. But first thing is first, handle Upstate, and then you can open up your path and open up your strategy to what you want to do on Saturday. Slip up, and the road gets really difficult, extremely fast. And you don't want to do that for sure. Now, USC Upstate, again, can't be taken lightly. They have a solid ace. They have hot bats. Kentucky is a power SEC team, and they're on kind of a losing streak right now, while USC Upstate's like on a 6-game winning streak. You can't overlook either one of them, because Kentucky has beaten big-time teams, this season already. And then West Virginia, while they also kind of struggled later on in the season, they have some pitchers as well that are, very capable of winning games too. Clemson, to me, should win this regional, but they have to stay focused on what's important. And what's important right now is the very first game against USC Upstate. I'm going to finish the show off tonight talking about Cade Klubnik and how Clemson finally made the cover of EA Sports College Football. Clemson landed on the cover of College Football, and I know you're shocked by saying this, but yes, they did. And it wasn't just Cade Klubnik. Quarterback Cade Klubnik is definitely one of those guys featured on the deluxe edition of College Football 26 for EA Sports flagship college football game, really the only college football game that's out there that's going to launch this summer. But it's not just Cade Klubnik. There was 3 different features of Clemson on the deluxe edition. You had Cade Klubnik, you had the Tiger, the mascot, and then you had Clemson Tiger Band. A member of the band actually was on the cover. So 3 different brand aspects on the cover of NCAA, or excuse me, College EA Sports College Football 26. And that's pretty awesome to me. Now, I know what you say, Morg, this is not what we were thinking. This is just a collage of a bunch of different things. And that's true. You know, I always had those dreams of Deshaun Watson or CJ Spiller or, you know, Trevor Lawrence being on the eventual cover and having that true cover, right? Your key player, that marquee player on the cover. And they didn't get that. They have Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams over on the standard edition of the cover, and those guys could kind of be your marquee guys, and those are also on the deluxe edition. But they did put a collage of a bunch of different teams and college football mainstays on there, which is why we should be extremely proud about this, because this is a spotlight moment. This is a highlight moment, not just for Cade Klubnik, but for Clemson football as a whole, Clemson University as a whole, getting your star quarterback, a star player, a mascot, and a band member. That is nuts that Clemson got 3 in this collage. And when you look at it, there are teams like Miami. They have no representation at all. South Carolina, they have, I think, 1 representation. A lot of teams only have 1. Some have 2. But Clemson getting 3, I was kind of circling around looking. I didn't see many. If I missed any, I didn't see anybody else with 3. So it was really awesome to see Clemson being represented in that way. You know, EA Sports brought back college football in 2025 or 2024 rather, but 25 was the name of it. And it was huge in popularity, exploded across gamers and college football fans. I myself, crazily enough, spent $600 to go get a PlayStation 5 and College Football 25. And, you know, I don't even really play it. I spent all this money, and I really should just sell it to someone who wants to play it. I thought that I could play. I had these ideas in my head and these dreams that I could play like I was in college. And the fact of the matter is, I'm not in college anymore. I am a dad. I'm a husband. I'm working. I was working full time, and now I'm going to flight school full time. So I have no time at all to play college football. I wish I could. I wish I could be part of your league out there, but I just can't do it. I don't have any time to do it, but it's really exciting. It was really fun, even though it was frustrating, because to me, the defenses were crazily overpowered, even under the lower rankings or lower difficulty levels. I never figured out how to do anything on college football, not like I used to back in the day. The sequel is really cool because Cade Klubnik is in the front and center on that collage of the deluxe edition. And, you know, there's a short list of other players and universities that are on there. So that's really cool. Cade Klubnik mentioned on Instagram that it was a dream come true for him and a true honor to represent Clemson. And it's a huge win for me because of Clemson's brand and their momentum and being one of the most recognized faces in the sport, both, you know, on the field and off the field in video games. And for the fan base, to me, this just, you know, is further validation that Clemson is a national brand and one of the best in college football, an elite level. Visibility matters in this era of college football. With social media, with NIL, the attention is all on how much can your brand do for me, and Clemson's brand can definitely work wonders for any player out there. Getting your quarterback on the cover, not just your quarterback, but your mascot and your band member, that shows that you are a major player. And it also shows that the development of Clemson and Dabo Swinney and the consistency of success to get your star player up there. Cade Klubnik is a true leader. He's doing the right things this offseason. We've already seen a ton of it, and him getting on the cover really is cool, and it matches what we've been seeing about his effort and his leadership to get them there. And does this add more pressure to the team? I don't think so. My dad asked me, what is this about, like the Madden curse, right? I don't believe in that at all, but I will say that I do think that Clemson, while it doesn't mean anything as far as preseason hype, it is a good sign that Clemson's in the right area. They're one of the elite brands out there, not just for Clemson though, and recruiting, but Clemson and maybe getting into a better conference or into one of the super leagues one day. It shows, hey, we have not only a great fan base, a great stadium, a great university, and a great graduation rate, but also a fan base that travels, a fan base that watches on television and that buys video games. And our brand matters and is really important and brings a lot of money with it. So to me, this is just another step in showing that Clemson is a real deal and elite at the level of college football. A huge push for Clemson to reassert itself as one of the best. Wins matter. Visibility matters, the brand matters, the ratings matter, and Clemson is strong in all of those aspects. They've had a strong spring. They have a great coaching staff and a great roster. I look forward to carrying this momentum in to 2025. Clemson has everything they need to be successful. I've already told you, I believe Clemson can push for a national championship here this season. Congrats to Cade. Congrats to Clemson University and the brand for being able to be a part of this. Me as a former marketing senior manager, this is a huge win from a brand perspective, and it's a signal that Clemson is truly a national player and in the big time spotlight when it comes to college football. The investment matters from the fan base, from the university, and it's showing off big time, and rewards are being shown for sure. It's time to put all of this excitement and hype into reality when we get around to the end of August and start of September. All of this hype is nothing unless you win the games, and they've got to go out and win those big time games. And I think they can do it with the staff and the roster that they have. Hey, thank you so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show with Brian Smith. The latest rumors, portal entries, signings, be the most informed fan on the rapid changes of college football and the landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. And as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you tomorrow, and we'll see you at the top of the hill.